Prepare yourself for List Off, the gaming podcast where your hosts, Brian and Ryan, rank the things they love. 3, 2, 1, List Off!
This week, we are finding and targeting our key demographic as we sell you on the idea of the top 10 gaming commercials. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing great, Ryan. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Every time it's beautiful. I love it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Same for you. I mean, like, definitely. I feel like I have a standard to live up to because of your intros.
I mean, sometimes I do it with my list, so I definitely put a little more effort into it.
Yeah.
But other times I'm like on the fly, so it's hit or miss.
Can never tell which week is which.
Thank you.
Did you play any games this week?
I did. So I think I told you offline my Returnal escapades, and I did the the secret ending.
Yeah.
And all that was great. I did it very quickly. I looked up kind of where things were to kind of blow through it a little faster. But still, like you mentioned, the RNG was, I guess, in my favor because it's a little difficult to do some of those things.
Right. So you have to like collect certain objects, right, at the end game.
Right.
And even it took me, I remember it being more than a week to find like one or two of them because it was like I just wouldn't get the room that it was in.
Right.
So you ended up with really, really good RNG for sure.
Also, I was consistently able to just beat the game. So I'm up there in the ranks now, I think. I don't know about a platinum though, because I'm very low on the surveys. Like I have half of each one. And that seems to be like, I need to collect a lot more things to kind of get through it.
I think it's in the survey, just seeing the rooms.
So you have to get each of those etchings.
Oh, right.
The like translations.
Ciphers,
Right.
Xenoglyph ciphers, Brian.
Yeah.
Etchings. Like, jeez. Did I mention I platinumed Returnal here?
No. Did you really?
I have.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I know.
Very good.
Big time.
Yeah. Well, you'll be alone on that mountain because I mean, maybe in the, when I get the itch to play this game, God, it's so good. It's so good. I was wrong about my game of the year. It's totally Returnal.
This is so good to hear, man. Like that means that, I mean, obviously retroactively, but we both had the same favorite game of 2021, which is incredible. I think that's great.
Returnal is just unbelievable. I love that game so much.
It's a special game.
It really is. Yeah. I think, there's so many good things to hear about it. Check out Keith with the main quest. He talked about it extensively, and that was a good listen after I had beat it. Yeah. But other than that, 2 other games. So I jumped on Lost Ark. So not Ark, but Lost Ark.
This is a Korean game, right? Big MMO, right?
So this is Amazon Games that makes this one.
Oh, is it? Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Big old games with the swoosh.
Oh yeah.
On the beginning of it. Not my type of game. So it's basically Diablo, but very MMO with other people around. I don't have the time or the energy to do something like this. So I saw that it was like the top Steam game right now.
And the game free. Of the moment for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's number 2 in concurrent users of all time.
Wow.
Which is unbelievable. But there are other games that I want to play. So I did. And I jumped into Outer Wilds because that is on Game Pass. Yeah. I had picked this one up when it was on Game Pass before, and then it left, and I didn't really do much with it. But I am fully in it now. I am ready to explore, and it's fantastic. I'm loving the energy and the exploration aspect of it. There are so many mysteries that are just like keeping me going, and I'm going to start a notebook, honestly, because I am picking up all sorts of information that the game seems to be doing a good job of breadcrumbing me through different areas.
Right.
And it's enough that I want to keep going. We'll see if that changes. I know that a lot of people hit a wall, and then if you get over the wall, then you're in love with it. If you don't, then you don't really care.
Right.
So I know that you had started it are you in one of those camps?
Okay. So no, So like I am going to catch so much crap for this because I know so many people love this game and it's like one of their favorite games of all time. And I did play a little bit of it. And the only thing I have to say to the people who love it and hold it in such a high regard is like, did you play it? Because like the gameplay, the way this game plays to me was just so obtuse and not enjoyable for me. Like everything felt more difficult than it had to be. I wanted to go explore, but like I couldn't even land the ship. It didn't handle well. Nothing handled well. Nothing moved well. Nothing like, I get like it's, I'm sure I was doing something wrong, right? Like I'm sure it's a learning process and everything, but it didn't hold my interest long enough. I do want to go back to it because I am sure this opinion will change if I gave it a fair shake. And I definitely have not given it a fair shake to this point. And there was mystery there. There was some really cool things there. You know, I like the incorporation of music in the different worlds and just the idea of like exploring this little, solar system. It's awesome in that regard. But
so like, that's the coolest thing is it is a solar system and everything is operating as a solar system,
right?
So there's gravity and and like push and pull and
like between two planets, even like
exactly
those two planets that like the one like they kind of feed like I think sand between the two of them, right? And like it's very cool, very inventive.
So that part of it, I mean, it's like if someone had found this in 1950, they would have been like, "This is all crazy," but like, hey, here's the like pocket guide to space travel, and it's just unbelievable how much stuff is in there. So that game is really holding my interest right now.
Cool.
I would be playing Demon Souls if I had a spare $70 that didn't need to go to Horizon. So it's a timing thing. Horizon is taking the mind share, and that's in a couple days. So,
I mean, like at this point, you wouldn't want to get invested in Demon Souls right now. Yeah. It would either be bad to go back to it or there's really no point, or you wouldn't want to put it down, which like I couldn't really see that happening with Horizon coming out.
Horizon's going to take over for sure.
I got something for you though, buddy. I got something for you. Okay. You'll have to like come visit or something so I could give it to you, Okay. But it's not here yet. I'll let you know when it arrives. But
sounds good.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll just say, because like that's kind of a tease and I'm not clickbaiting anybody, right? Like, well, remember how I said, I don't know if you remember this, but last year when my wager was like Dark Souls, I said, if we end up having to play Dark Souls, I'm going to get you a Solaire of Astora. Like hoodie,
that's right. Yeah.
Well, we're not playing Dark Souls. We're playing Demon Souls, right? So I got you a really cool Demon Souls t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
And I got a matching one for myself. So like when we do our podcast, we could wear our shirts for the podcast.
Beautiful.
Official merch and everything. It's really cool. Wait till you see
That's awesome. Yeah. Sweet. I'm excited. Thank you.
Me too. I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah. What about you? Did you play any games?
Yeah, I sure did, buddy. I sure did. First one I want to talk about I played through is House of Ashes. It's one of those Dark Pictures anthology games, the most recent one, I believe. So I actually gave blood for this game. Yeah, I know. Well, there was like a blood mobile, and they were giving away $20 gift cards to Amazon. And I'm like, hey, that's like pretty much a free video game.
Oh my gosh.
I should probably, I'm so altruistic that I was like, I should probably give blood for a free video game.
Nice.
So I did.
Did you tell them that?
No,
did you say
absolutely not. But I'm telling everybody here that.
Yes, perfect.
This is by Supermassive Games. They did Until Dawn, and it plays kind of like Until Dawn, right? Like it's similar. Make the decision and do the quick time events. I do think I enjoyed Until Dawn, but this was way better than that. I thought the story was better. I thought the characters were better. The writing was better. Just the whole atmosphere of the game itself was a lot cooler than Until Dawn as well. And this does have those QTEs, but they do interesting things because not all, like the crux of the gameplay isn't just the QTE and just the decision making. They actually have like aiming and firing mechanics involved, and they have almost a rhythm mini game. So if you're hiding from something and it's like a really tense moment, they have a heartbeat going across the screen, and you have to like time the button press in line with the heartbeat, so you don't like make yourself known, right? Like
Right.
freak out because like your heart's all aflutter, right? Which was cool. It was enough. It varied the gameplay enough that it's not just like, oh, I have to be worried about like what button to press next. You know, it was a little more in depth than that. And the aiming and firing mechanics were very basic, but it also was another thing where like, hey, it's not just push X. It's like, no, you're actually aiming like a targeting reticle and shooting something, which it's good.
Is the frame rate better than what Until Dawn was? Because Until Dawn was a little rough in its frame rate and just overall look, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. It's been a long time since I played Until Dawn, but this nothing was jarring or stood out to me. It's a beautiful looking game too, and really, really cool. It takes place in Iraq in 2003. I won't give away much of the plot, but like, man, really, really enjoyed it. And it's short enough that I will definitely play through it again. It was only like maybe 2.5 hours, maybe I'm thinking of it differently in my mind, but it was like a maximum of 5 hours, definitely fewer than 5 hours. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I haven't played any of the other ones like Man of Medan or Little Hope, but I am glad I played this one, and I'll be looking for future ones in the series too, because it was like $20.
That's great.
$20. Yeah. Can't beat it. There's another game I played, Brian.
Yes. The big one.
Yeah. And it is nice that all my hype was justified because Sifu is a great game.
Sweet.
I am totally loving this game. It's like, at first you just get beat up a lot. So everybody says, oh, it's super difficult. And it is very difficult, but there's a definitive learning curve. And once you figure out the mechanics, it's not impossible at all. I haven't beaten the final boss yet, but I made it to him. I'm 45. So I definitely have plenty of room to do so. I just got to him today. Because I've really made it a point to go back and like replay the earlier levels to try to get my age down going into the future levels.
So can you tell me how that works a little bit? Because is it like run based? Like, is it like Returnal where you're spending like an hour or two and going from start to finish?
No. So you could start any level that you make it to on the fly. Like as soon as you boot up the game, if you made it to the third level, you could start right from there.
Okay.
But you can only start at the youngest age that you made it to that level.
I see.
So it encourages going back and replaying the other levels and dying fewer times because then you start at a younger age for the next level. So you're really trying to push that younger age as far as you can into the game, right?
I gotcha.
So it definitely a lot of encouragement to go back and replay levels. I had posted a no death run of the first level. I also want I also wanted to post a no death run of the second level. The only problem is I keep dying.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah. So like, but not many times, but you know, as soon as you die once, that no death run is over, right? And it's tricky. Like, even if you figure out the mechanics, it's still tricky. They throw enough at you, and different characters with different attacks, different attack timing, things like that. So even when you learn the dodges and parries, there's still enough that you got to be on your toes. You're never ready for what comes next.
And is it combo based? So are you learning like fighting game combos?
So I do see a lot of comparisons. People do make a lot of comparisons to fighting games in this. And there are, like, obviously you hit square is light attack, triangle is heavy attack. So you could do light, heavy, light, whatever. You know, you can mix those up, and there are very fluid animations and combos for every mix of that. But you do unlock more powerful attacks. So there is timing in those attacks, like triangle, 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 or will be all heavy attacks. But then if you do like triangle, triangle, pause, triangle, then it's like a different move that you can unlock. So it is kind of, it really is unlike anything I've ever played before. So it's not even like a fighting game. It's not like you could do a fireball motion or a sonic boom.
Right.
It's really just in and of itself, its own gameplay. And I mean, honestly, I think that's the coolest thing about it is there are parallels to a lot of games out there, but it very much stands alone on what it does and what it's trying to do. And that's cool. Like to have been playing games for 35 years and to have honestly never played a game like this. Even the blocking and dodge mechanics, it's like unique to this. It's not just a roll or like a get out of the way type dodge. It's like you have to go toe to toe with your enemy, hold a block button, and like time your dodges. It's really good, man. Really, really cool. And when you do time it, when you're able to like go to toe to toe with an enemy and just move like Matrix all of his punches, you feel like that Bruce Lee quote, the be like water.
Okay, yeah.
Right? That quote, yeah.
This is what it is, okay? I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
It really does feel like that, man. And it's such a power trip when you go into a room of like 10 people and just take them all out one by one. It's such a feeling of power. But also if you get surrounded by those people and they start landing shots, you don't last very long. You're not superhuman. And even when you're young and can take the most damage. But the art style is incredibly unique. Looking at the early images of this game, I was like, man, I don't know what they're doing there. It kind of looks a little janky. Like I get maybe they're going for a certain art style, but they know exactly what they're doing with it. The third level takes place in an art museum, and it is the coolest level design of any game I can think of off the top of my head. Like it's one of my favorite levels of all time. Wow. I can honestly say that. Like the things it does and the way it like things look in that level, just oh man, like it's so cool. It's one of the coolest things like to experience. Yeah, man. Sweet. Yeah, I definitely think this is a game that more people should play. Be prepared. It's tough. Like if you're in for a learning curve, like get involved in this game because you're probably looking at a maximum of 10 hours, maybe 20 if you like really, really, really want to keep playing it, but it's also a $40 price tag and probably $20 in a few months, right?
Sure.
So yeah, love and Sifu though. Absolutely.
I think it's on PC as well. So
it is. I think the Epic Game Store, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, then I'll get it on PS5 if I get it. Right. So when you mentioned the levels, is it like, because what I've seen is just like, here's a corridor and then you move on to the next corridor. Is it linear in that respect, or does it branch off? Like
it does branch off. So it actually has this, like, you also have this detective board where you're trying to fill in all these people and how they tie into each other. So sometimes if say you make it through the first level, you may get into the second level and find an object that unlocks a pathway in the first level that goes like a more direct route to the boss.
Okay.
Right. So, or even as you get later in one level, you'll find that same thing, like a key card that unlocks a door earlier in the level, and just boom, now you're all of a sudden like can cut out half of so it does help you kind of keep that age down. There are like these points where you might be aging and getting your butt kicked and blah blah blah, and you might be on your last life, but like you beat kind of a mini boss and you get that key card and you're like, oh, like thank goodness, at least if I restart the level I could cut out like 3 rooms of bad guys.
Sure.
And it has like mystical aspects to it too. It's not just like your straight brawler, like go down a corridor, beat up a room full of dudes and move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds interesting.
Oh, so cool, man. Yeah. I'll post
any other games.
I'll post more gameplay, but I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to really put stuff out there that's like spoilery. So I am trying to limit what I put out there.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. No other games for me. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
It. You ready?
So you're about to beat it though. You feel like you're almost there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll beat it this, if not tonight, tomorrow. I'll beat
Sweet.
it, depending on what time we're done.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So without further ado, I say we go ahead and get into our list. We're doing once again the top 10 gaming commercials.
Yeah. Let's watch some TV.
All right, Brian, I got my clicker ready.
Yeah.
For the old television.
I've got my TV guide.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Remember TV guides?
Oh man.
Oh,
I never got them, but they were around all the time.
My mom always got TV guides. So I remember seeing there would be like a rating system for certain shows too, right? Like they would actually like gosh, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't like a thumbs up system. It was like
TV Guide was rating them.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. And anyway, I don't know. I didn't like let it dictate what I watched, but I always remember like reading maybe a show I like got a bad rating, and I was like, "What? You don't know anything, TV Guide."
Now I would always do the like channel 10 where it would just slowly scroll through time by time,
and you couldn't like now you could just do it. You can scroll yourself, but like it would scroll.
Who has TV though?
Well, the thing is, like, it used to not even have that.
I know.
So when the scrolling channel went, it was like, oh, who needs a TV Guide anymore? The future is now. Right? Like I remember these advances. Yep. It's so funny, dude. I'm old, brother. Anyway, enough for that walk down memory lane. So we'll start with our honorable. And my honorable mention is Not Today, Brian. Do you know this commercial?
No. Refresh me. So
it's for Shadow of War, and it just accurately represents the unbreakable bond between a man and the orc he once saved decades ago. So it starts with this old man, and he's on life support, and they're about to pull the plug, and all of a sudden this orc comes in the room and like knocks the doctor out, and he looks into the guy's like the dying man's eyes and goes, "Not today, Brian." And then it like flashes to, I don't know, him at dinner, and he's choking. And then this orc comes out of nowhere, gives him a Heimlich maneuver, says, "Not today, Brian." Right?
Oh my gosh.
And it has like 3 more scenes where the guy almost dies. The orc saves his life, but then it flashed. Yeah. It's like going back in his life, right? In the man's life, until one day he's on the couch playing Shadow of War, and he like saves the orc's life. I forget the orc's name, but he goes like, "Not today, so-and-so." And the orc like looks through the TV and just nods.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, it's so good. It's a quick commercial, maybe like 20 seconds, you know?
Oh, wow.
But man, I just remember dying laughing, seeing it.
Yeah. And it's that nemesis system that they're kind of portraying.
Exactly. It ties into the game too. Like you save the orc's life, and he won't forget in the game, and he won't forget in real life too.
That's great.
Yeah. Plus,
we all need to do that.
Yeah, my co-host name is Brian, so.
Okay. I thought you were just saying that as like a name filler, but his name is actually Brian.
Actually, Brian, not today, Brian.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
I had to be on the list then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. All right. Well, my honorable mention now, Ryan. As you were growing up, did you ever get promotional VHS tapes from Nintendo directly? Because I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uncle at Nintendo.
So this might have been a Nintendo Power thing now that I'm thinking back on it. But Nintendo sent, I don't know, like a dozen of these over the course of, let's say, 5-year period.
Do you have them?
No. Oh my God. I would love to have retained these.
Yeah.
But they were for different games. They did a lot of rare games, so automatically I was in love.
Yeah.
So they did like Star Fox 64, Donkey Kong Country, but the one that I watched over and over and over again in anticipation was for Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah. So and I found it. All of these are viewable online, of course. So just search for Nintendo promotional VHS, and you can see every single one of these. But this one in particular, it was set up like kind of like a game show, talk show, news show. It was like this whole amalgamation of all sorts of different things. I don't know who was making these because, like I said, they were all rare ones that I at least had seen. And, you know, Rare is a British company. So I was thinking like, oh, maybe they would use people from there. But these are all Americans. So it must have just been like Nintendo of America pushing these out.
Right.
But it's just stupid, silly humor where it's just like this guy named Trent, and he's like the show host. And then he's talking to other people, and they're all talking about Diddy Kong Racing, like aspects of the gameplay, of the adventure mode, the world, multiplayer. And he just goes to each one. And whenever it cuts back to him, he's just like relaxing, and like he's in a pool, just lounging. He's like getting a facial, getting a massage. He's just like out with friends, and they're like hard at work doing all this stuff. But there's just like all sorts of different interviews that he does, and then they just interstitch the gameplay with it. And I thought it was the funniest thing as a kid. I still think it's pretty funny.
I gotta find it.
I think you'll really like it. It's so stupid. And and then there's like a guy, he like is talking to some guy who it's funny how they do it, because it's like, all right, so we heard you were like involved in this accident, and then it cuts to this guy like in a full body cast. He's like like just mumbling, and then the host is like, oh, so you were driving and you hit an oil slick, and a squirrel like was laughing at you, and then you hit a dinosaur. Was Diddy Kong involved? And he's like, yes.
That's very funny.
Yeah. And just so many good just like interviews with these people.
Right.
It again, very, very stupid, but hilarious all the way through.
I can picture you like rewinding the VHS to watch it again.
So I would rewind it just to see like the Diddy Kong footage.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
Speaking of Diddy Kong Racing,
Yes.
we actually pulled enough people together. I didn't mention this. I wanted to mention it earlier. We now are Nintendo Online Expansion Pass members.
Family. We are family.
We are family. We are family. Hey. So, like, have you had a chance to dive into it? We just did it today.
I did. So honestly,
and obviously Diddy Kong Racing not on the service, but
right.
You know, we're manifesting that our dreams here. So
exactly. Yeah. So you and I were talking about it. You're like, you know, shoot me some money and I'll do it on my end. Mm-hmm. So I did. And then last night I got on and I'm like, all right, time to dive in. I'm going to play some N64
Sorry, games. I was waiting for a few more people to send me money, dude. Sorry.
So I did manage to play some Super Nintendo games, and that's where I did a clip of Donkey Kong Country.
Right. Yeah.
Just proving my points.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. The surfer dude, Funky Kong.
Right. You know, I an interesting point was brought up by Morgan, the Intergalactic Pinecone. And he said, you know, you think it's a surfer, but maybe Kong language, you know, it's different than ours. Maybe biker has different meaning in Kong.
Okay. So what is a surfboard? He's always carrying around a surfboard. What does that mean? He means he's a biker?
Motorcycle.
Okay.
Right. That's what I'm getting at here.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. But today I did dive into it a little bit. I got me some win back, some win back time in. I thought so. Most of the multiplayer games are online enabled, but only with your friends. There's no like matchmaking. So if you want to play, you have to set it up with your friends.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it, man, for sure.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
we'll do some head-to-head win back.
I am excited to dive into it. I wasn't going to spend more than like $20 on it.
Right.
So the fact that we were able to get
price.
it, like I'm good with that. Totally good with that. Yeah. Awesome. Diddy Kong Racing and VHS tapes.
That's it.
A lot of throwbacks in this episode. I guarantee it, dude.
Oh yeah.
I'm also going to have a hard time. Like, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we just mentioned last time when we did our trailers that game commercials are different and you don't really see them as much anymore.
Right.
Because these companies just do trailer drops and that's like the advertising.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's going to be a really hard time for me to not put audio from every commercial in this.
I mean, on the video version, I was planning on kind of dumping at least the clips of everything we're talking about.
Right. No, good. Very good. So moving on to our number 10s, my number 10 is the Legend of Zelda for the NES, or the Nintendo newsletter as well.
Yes.
It's, you know this one, right? Like
I didn't is there an actual Nintendo newsletter? Because I was unaware of that.
Maybe pre-Nintendo Power there was.
Sure.
They really sell you on the idea of it.
Right.
You know, in this commercial. So the nerd and the cool kid are brought together through their mutual love of Nintendo. The nerdy kid's like, did you read the latest Nintendo newsletter? And the cool kid's like, man, look at those graphics. Yeah, he's got the glasses with the tape, everything. Yes. It's so good. Look at those graphics. I can't wait to play that, baby. And then, you know, the nerd's like, we could play it right now. And then they, boom, hard turn in this commercial, because surprise, it's actually a rap about the Legend of Zelda.
That's right.
It's really rad. And like Octoroks, Tektites, whatever. They say it all, dude. These guys spit hot fire.
Wiki,
and it is wiki. They do the wiki. It's so good. It's so good. It's just like so 80s and so iconic. I mean, like we don't get things like this, and we don't get them often enough, you know, where like just it was this time where these Japanese gaming companies didn't always know how to appeal to American audiences, and they put forward like the most incredible pieces of media. And this was one of them, man. I loved it. I still love it. It's great. It's iconic for sure.
Nice. Good pick. I love it. I've never caught this on air, but I definitely saw it after the fact and was like, oh, this is so perfect. I love this. I love every bit of this.
I saw it on air.
Nice.
I am older though.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's another oldie for me. Number 10, Smile. You're on Game Boy Camera. Did you see this commercial?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you're familiar with Candid Camera, I assume, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a whole jingle. It's like, smile, you're on Candid Camera. Yeah. So they just did that with Game Boy. So it's just a bunch of people like taking their Game Boy cameras and their Game Boy, systems, and then like giving it over to people to like make them feel better, basically. Yeah. So the first one is like this bully is about to like destroy this kid, and then like they give him a Game Boy camera, and he's just like, oh, having a good time, like playing whatever game with it. There is this like it's a kid, like a boy and a girl, like watching TV. It's obviously a date, right? And like the kid is like this little scrawny guy, and then the girl's like this really tall, like 6 foot person, and then he's like putting his arm around her, and she's like obviously not into it, right. But then she sees herself on the Game Boy camera and she immediately falls in love.
This is so funny. Like, this is another one of those, like the Japanese thinking every American is somehow a character from a John Hughes movie.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Like, yeah, there's a bully, there's a nerd, right? Yep. Like, yeah, there's an awkward lady, like awkward girl. Like, yeah, like I've seen 16 Candles. I know what it's like. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Yeah,
just a couple more of those that happen. It's so perfect. And the Game Boy camera, did you have one of these, man?
No, but I've seen the pictures.
Oh man, it was so cool.
It is. So it's neat.
I had one. I had the printer, and I spent hours just playing all the games with this. It was very much what they were doing with like, the Wii. It's just this weird thing that Nintendo would do.
Yeah.
And kind of ahead of its time because, people had cameras obviously, but this was like, you could just take like photos all the time, delete them, save them, and then print them out right then and there. That's unbelievable.
It's really cool. And like looking back, it's very, now it's a cool style. Like I would like my photo on Game Boy camera. That'd be really cool to have,
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen people rig it up to like stream, like basically doing what we're doing right now.
Did you share that? Somebody shared that. I feel like
I definitely liked it on Twitter.
Maybe that's where I saw
it to you. Yeah.
And I was like, man, that is cool to do like the whole stream through a Game Boy camera. Wow.
So cool. Yeah. I actually got my Game Boy camera for $10 at Walmart when, I don't know, it was probably like a year after it released. And I was like, oh, $10. I'll take it. That's great.
Yeah, man. How cool.
Yeah.
Smile. I remember Candid Camera. It was like, I never really liked those shows, those like prank shows,
Okay.
Where it's like, I'm going to like put you in a really awkward situation where no human being would know how to handle themselves. Right. And I'm going to be like, just kidding.
Now, what about America's Funniest Home Videos?
Yeah, those are
like that. That's just YouTube.
Because that's just people being like living their lives and silly things happen to them or doing stupid things, right? It's different. Sure. It's not like as mean-spirited.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know somebody who like gives blood only for video games talking about mean-spirited, right? Like pot calling the kettle black, right? Here we are. So good pick though, man. Good pick.
Thank you.
So moving on to my number 9, try as I might, Brian, I just could not leave the sexiest man alive off of my list. And
Brosnan?
It's what? Paul Rudd. It's Paul Rudd. Okay. Yeah, he was the sexiest man alive in 2021, wasn't he?
Okay.
Right? The man who doesn't age. Yeah, this is that Super Nintendo commercial.
That's right.
Which was the movie trailer voice, which like, it's funny when you like, I watched all these commercials in this last week and going back, you realize that the trailer voice now is very different for the trailer voice in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Like this guy's voice was like way more like aggressive almost.
I've been smoking since I was 4.
Well, it's not even like, it's like the way they pronounce things, it was just different, he's like, oh, you want to play with power? It's like, I don't know. It's different. I can't even do it.
Kind of like that, like WrestleMania, like aggressive.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Sunday.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Paul Rudd stumbles across this drive-in theater with the Super Nintendo calling to him. Every kid's dream. Right. So he picks it up and he starts playing. And man, his facial expressions and the button presses, you could tell it is intense. And these other kids just flock in. They must have been called in the same way Paul Rudd was by the Super Nintendo. And maybe if it was them who got there first, they'd be the sexiest man or woman alive. Who knows? Right. But Paul Rudd got there first. So sorry, guys. But I remember being a kid and it was like the big screen with the huge, like they really showcased F-Zero in some of the early SNES games, and seeing F-Zero on that big screen with those big meaty like spaceship sprites, the ship sprites. It was like, oh my God, like that looks so good and it moves so fast. And I just remember seeing this being like, I need one of those.
Yeah.
Like all those kids flocking around Paul Rudd being like called to the SNES. I was one of them. I was like, I need this machine in my house. I mean, and there was lightning. It was an intense, like wind, papers blowing in the wind. It was good. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good commercial.
It seems like all these commercials are doing exactly what they're supposed to, because you and I are buying each of these products. So that's crazy. Yeah. Did you ever go into a Best Buy when they would have, it was like, I don't know, a dozen like CRTs all like one next to another.
And it was,
and
it
would make this big image. Yeah.
So cool. Right.
Yeah. And it would, they would have video games on there. It was just unbelievable to see.
It was super, super cool. Yeah. And I mean, also this has a lot of these too. It's not just because I enjoyed them when they were new, given that they're older commercials. It's also rewatching them. Yeah. Like it is cool to rewatch a Super Nintendo commercial that has Paul Rudd in it.
Right.
Like of everybody, it's Paul Rudd. He's like a little kid playing a Super Nintendo. He's a teenager, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
Yeah. It's wild.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Great pick. Love that one.
Thanks, man.
So my number 9, you've probably seen this one. It's Pokemon, and it's a bus driver who's got to catch them all. And he's inviting all the different Pokemon on his bus, and Pikachu, is jumping up, and he's like, "Hey, little fella, like, you want to ride?" And then he's like, got dozens and dozens of them just in the bus, and they're all just like animated Pokemon. And then he takes them to like a junkyard trash compactor, and then he just like leaves the bus there, and he's like, "Bye." And then he smashes them, and then it's like, you got to catch them all. The only way you can do that is, and then there's a Game Boy that like is what the bus got smashed into. Yeah. And then he's just playing Game Boy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great. There were a lot of the commercials that I was coming across were very like, we'll see it with other companies here a little more. I'll be talking about on mine at least. They're a little like vulgar and aggressive, kind of like you're saying.
For sure.
There's a lot of like not so subtle imagery, and yeah, we'll get to it. But
absolutely, I agree. Some of these were like, man, like this was to sell something to kids.
Exactly.
Like you're selling Pokemon to kids by putting them in a trash compactor.
Right. He just
one of those
killed all these Pokemon.
Yeah. Like, right. That's not cool. Like, but it worked. Hey, Pokemon, like most profitable franchise in the world. So
that's it.
Must have worked.
And then there was just like a lot of the commercials that I was coming across. This one included the bus driver's like all sweaty and like disgusting looking, and that seemed to be a theme. I think it was just to like have imagery of like what am I looking at? I have to keep watching because this is just weird. But yeah, a couple of the other commercials really share that characteristic.
Yeah. Speaking of which, my number 8 is the Kevin Butler commercials.
Yes.
Yeah. Like these were just I'm so happy to have been alive during the Kevin Butler era of PlayStation, because every one of them was funny. Yeah. And they were cranking these commercials out like nobody's business. There are so many different variations of this character who I forget what he was, like the vice president of awesomeness. And I think
it was all sorts
everything.
Of different things.
Yeah, all sorts of different titles. But like the ones that stand out to me are the PlayStation being $2.99, where the guy, it was always done in the way that the person has a question for PlayStation. Right. And Kevin Butler answers. And the guy was like, "Hey, I've heard, that they're lowering the price to $299." He's walking like, "No, we're not. Where'd you get that idea?" And everything around him is like big banners, $299, PlayStation now $299. And that was a good one. The Uncharted 2 one where the guy's like, "Hey, I've been playing this game and I have this problem where my girlfriend thinks it's a movie." And he's like, "Oh, well, don't worry. In like an hour or so, she'll figure it out." And he's like, "It's been 2 days." And he's like, "I'm going to go ahead and put this as a non-issue."
Exactly.
yeah, right. Okay. But you were saying, like the risque and aggressive ones. There's the one where the dad like built this huge like thing in the backyard for the kids to play on. And he's like, "Finally, the kids will like appreciate me and play with me." And he's like, "Don't be silly. Like you should have gotten them a PlayStation." He's like rubbing the dude's wife's back with like the kids playing PlayStation in the room with them. Oh, he's like, "Then your kids and your lovely wife here would really appreciate you." And it's like, wow. Oh my God, right? Like, pretty aggressive advertising, right? Yeah, and then like there's the one where he was talking about the kids like complaining, like the game, there's not enough games, and he's like basically like, "Yeah, well, your grandmother used to push a hoop with a stick," and he keeps interrupting the kid with a stick. It's just like all of these, man, they're so good.
They're gold.
So good.
They really are. And then he like advertise with a different like Nintendo or the Wii or something. And then they dropped him. Do you remember that?
I think it was something like that. And he went away real quick when he worked with another company that basically they were like,
it was competition.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But man, like these were gold in a really good era of PlayStation advertising for sure.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is when that generation really started turning towards PlayStation too. PlayStation 3, but PlayStation also.
Right. Right.
Because there was a time where like that price tag for PlayStation 3, people were like, "No way." And then they really just like got that price down, got these commercials going, and like, really started turning the tide and ended up winning that console generation. If you look at just sales numbers,
Right.
Yeah. Which like from the 360, like, which is crazy.
That super early lead.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Love it. I think that is probably around the time that I bought a PS3 because it was so in your face and they had the games at that point. There were a couple of like must play ones. I think I got in like Uncharted 2 time.
Right. So. Well, that's the thing. It was that Uncharted 2 commercial was the reason I bought it, because I was like, man, this game looks great. And I played Uncharted 2, went back and played the first one and like fell in love with the series, but I wouldn't have if it weren't for that very commercial.
Right.
So it worked.
It worked. All right. Well, I don't know if this one works in the way that it intended, but my number 8 is the Mario Milk commercial. Did you ever see this one?
I don't know.
So this one plays in my head so much because I saw it so many times and I liked it because I didn't have an N64 when this aired. But it's a milk commercial, like Got Milk, that whole campaign. Mm-hmm. And it was just these kids playing Mario 64 and he's just like jumping and he can't make the jump. And they're like, "Come on, Mario, you got to do it." And then they get bored. And then Mario comes out of the TV and like skateboards over to the fridge and like he's making all the sounds from the N64 game. And he just like chugs the whole gallon of milk and then like gets really big and then goes back into the game and he like steps over the things. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But I just loved it because I was so enamored with Mario and like the N64 and wanting one so bad that this one really, really got me hyped for Super Mario 64 and just the N64 in general.
But it was a milk commercial.
It was a milk commercial.
Yeah, not even a like gaming commercial.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, like it was gaming.
It was definitely.
That's why at first when you're like, "Do you remember the Mario milk commercial?" I'm like, I don't know.
We talked about risque, but
yeah, right. I've never milked Mario. No, that's a good one, man. I do remember this. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very cool. Good pick.
Thank you
for sure. So I feel like you have some deep cuts here. Mine are
I watched a lot of TV, dude.
Yeah, so mine are the ones that stuck out to me. And the ones that stuck out to me, I feel like are the ones that are pretty well known at this point,
Sure.
We'll get to number ones, obviously, but to me, there was a very clear number one.
Uh-huh.
But we'll get there. So my number 7 is Sonic 2 for absolutely free.
Right.
You know this one?
But wait, there's more.
There's more. Exactly. Buy a Genesis and you get Sonic 2 for absolutely free. Not just Sonic 1, but Sonic 2. And it's like, it slices, it dices, it makes julienne fries, and they're like using the case to make the fries. It cleans spills. They're just like spreading it all over this place. Covers bald spots. The guy's like got a strap to his head. And also, you can play it. I just thought, man, like Sega had some pretty edgy marketing during that time frame, but this just had me laughing. It still had me laughing. Like going back and watching it again, I was like, damn, this is really good.
It's brilliant because everyone's seen infomercials. Everyone knows they're so dumb. And this like preys on that. And it was so good. I love that one.
And it was the era of the infomercial. Like that was the time when like they were everywhere. There's still all, I don't really watch television, but whenever I put it on, there seems to be infomercials on, if not, just those little commercials, even where it's like, oh, $19.99, but order now within the next 5 minutes. Like they know when the commercial plays, right? Yep. Like, God, if you fall for that, dude, if you fall for any time a commercial comes on and it's like order within the next 5 minutes and get this free little thing that you'll never use. They don't know when their commercial airs. Like they're not going to like, come on, people, does that work? Does that work? It must work.
There were times on QVC where they would sell like, I don't know, like let's say the GameCube or Xbox, and it was just like $700, and people would, I'm sure, buy it. Yeah, just like, come on, people. I guess they do it because people fall for it, but no, just go out to Walmart and get it for $200.
God, I wish I could see that. Like those QVC people trying to sell a GameCube. Look at this. Look how beautiful it is. So compact. Right. It has a handle. Right? Like,
GameCube. That is a sexy system.
I love the GameCube.
So good.
I love the GameCube.
What color did you have?
I had purple and I had a silver one.
Okay, I had the silver one. Yeah. I think that's when I got into the GameCube, was whenever they released that platinum edition. That was for me.
3 different GameCubes in my life.
Nice.
2 purple, 1 silver.
That spice orange one
was cool.
I think it was pretty rare because I never see that one.
Yeah.
I
awesome. Like the purple. I really like the purple.
It is very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's the classic.
Yeah. I mean, even that new Switch Lite is kind of that purpley color. I think they call it blue, but it's very similar to that.
It's more like periwinkle.
Yes.
I don't
know. No, there's a darker one that looks almost like the indigo of the GameCube.
Oh, see, I always think yellow for Switch Lite.
That's the one I have. Yeah. So beautiful. Anyway, my number 7, it's the Kevin Butler 299. That was, I had gone through a bunch of Kevin Butler ones to look for what I liked the most. And that one, I love it because the guy asking the question, he's like this rumor mill, like stand-in. And we've seen that kind of person before. He's like, yeah, PlayStation, tell me this. I heard that this is happening.
Right.
So like
you owe me an explanation.
Exactly. And that, that happens all the time where people probably have a pretty accurate rumor and then it's just always no comment, obviously. But this was a very cheeky way of illustrating that.
Oh, yeah, really exactly. But that's true. Like it happens all the time. Like, could you imagine working at PlayStation and knowing that question you're being asked is real and true, and you're going to announce it? Say you're going to announce it a week from then, but you have to say like, I literally have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not a lie if you believe it to be true. George Costanza.
Yeah. Wow. Let's model ourselves after that guy.
Yep.
God, please no.
I know.
He was the worst Seinfeld character.
He was the worst.
Yeah.
Very bad. Very funny.
Very funny. Absolutely. I agree. So we did talk how this would be predominantly older commercials. I managed to find a recent one and I really liked it. So I did a lot of research this last week and I ran across Resident Evil Village commercials in Japan. And they use puppets. Jeez. They use little hand puppets.
Oh no!
Because apparently the number one reason people in Japan, they did like a poll, so they have these little puppets come out and be like, it's all in Japanese, right? But it's translated. They have captions, rather subtitles in English, and they're saying, like the number one reason people don't play Resident Evil is because it's too scary. And they're like, but look, it's not scary. And they're like these little like fuzzy hand puppets. And then it starts with this thing where they're like, oh, what's in those buckets, Lady D? And she comes walking out with a little hand puppet. And she's like, oh, it's red paint, but it's like clearly blood, right? And they start painting and they're like, oh no, we ran out. What are we going to do? And like one of the guys slips and falls back on another one's chainsaw. And like this, like, you know, it's like streamers start coming out of his head and they're like, there's more of the red paint. So they fill the buckets back up. Yeah. And then like Lady Dimitris starts losing her mind. She starts getting like blood rage and furious. She's like, I need more of it. It's just really like, oh, it goes off the rails real fast, but it's hilarious, man. So
I got to check that one out.
Yeah, because like
That's
you wouldn't
insane.
expect this for a game like Resident Evil Village, right? Like you wouldn't expect little hand puppets, and they're adorable little hand puppets, and they're super funny. And it's done in the style of like this whole little play, which quickly does veer towards, you know, the gory and frightening in a very like playful way, right?
Sure.
But so good, man. So good. Had me laughing a lot.
That description definitely makes me want to see it.
Yeah.
That's perfect. All right. Well, my number 6, we got to go with some Sega here. And this is for the Game Gear. The Game Gear, they really had a good marketing thing for this, because like putting the two next to each other, it really, like on paper, the Game Gear is awesome compared to the Game Boy. It just doesn't have any games. Yeah, I mean, battery life for sure. But like, I mean, rechargeable batteries, you could find them for the Game Gear at that point.
I wonder though, like, okay, not to interrupt you. I don't think your batteries would like, say you had 2 sets, right? One for in the Game Gear and one for charging.
Sure.
I bet you could kill the batteries in the Game Gear way before those ones recharging would charge.
Sure. Yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, so this commercial, this is another like, let's use some like, you know, imagery that's like kind of off-putting. So it's just like big fat guy sitting on a bench playing his Game Boy, and they just make it like he is obviously having an awful time. It's really bright out. It's in the sun. People are mowing their lawns, and it's just like noise and chaos everywhere. And he's just like sweating, playing the game. And it's like that pea green Game Boy screen. And he looks down. There's just trash where he's sitting. There's like snacks and half-eaten food. And there's also like this frozen squirrel. And he picks up the frozen squirrel and he smacks himself in the head as hard as he can. And then he sees like colors everywhere because he's like hallucinating.
I remember this one. Yeah.
And then he looks at his screen, his Game Boy screen. He's like, ooh, colors. And then it goes into like, you don't need to do this to see color on your handheld. Just get a Game Gear. And then when they show the Game Gear, it's like this like slick guy. He's like playing it, having a good time. So it's just like they were going after each other, Nintendo and Sega during this time.
Big time.
And then
I feel like it was mostly Sega going after Nintendo.
Totally.
Yeah.
Every single time there was this style of Sega commercial, like something weird would say like Sega, like really quickly.
Yeah.
So there was like this flight attendant that said it, and in this one it was the squirrel. Like the squirrel, like just like Sega.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
Very off-putting.
I remember it now. Man, you're bringing back a lot of memories,
right?
Ones I hadn't thought of for this
See,
episode.
that's what happened. I like was watching Game Gear commercials, and then this one came across, and then like the synapses fired in my brain the correct way, and
that's cool.
It all came back.
Very cool, man. Good pick. I think for the rest of my list, these are going to be pretty good ones, pretty major ones too. Sure. So people will have probably heard of these.
Yeah. Same here, honestly.
Yeah. So my number 5 is the Ratchet and Clank weapons testing. Do you remember this?
Yes.
PlayStation 3 era, I think, too, right?
Right.
So yeah, it was like home videos of a bunch of teenage boys using like crazy Ratchet and Clank weaponry, right, in their backyard and testing them on each other to devastating effect. They changed each other into chickens, goats, I think. They blew up like everything. And yeah, it was usually just utter chaos, but it was done in that kind of like, I guess, Jackass, right? Like almost, not really though. I've always felt like it was more like, oh, if my friends and I stumbled across these weapons, like I could see us doing something like that. I felt like it was more relatable than that like Jackass kind of stuff coming out. because it was like
that would have been around that time though, so maybe they drew some inspiration
from it. Yeah, but it was cool. It was always so funny. Like this guy's like, okay, you stand there, and the guy's like, wait, like shouldn't we test it on something else first? And then all of a sudden he's a chicken, right? But yeah, no, man, this was always a lot of fun. They did a whole series of these too, and I didn't buy this game. Hadn't gotten into Ratchet and Clank at the time, but this was the closest I ever got to it because of these ads, actually.
Yeah. I didn't have anything to play these games during that time. So, I was in a similar kind of area.
Yeah. But
That's,
these are just classic. That's the thing. I'd never played the game. I'm not sure I had a PlayStation at that time either.
Right.
But, man, like, I still enjoyed watching these ads. It was always like, it's funny how you think when you were happy when a commercial came on TV.
I know.
But there were some of these commercials that when they came on, I was like, oh man, this is a good one. Or when it was a new one and they were like with a new weapon, it was like, oh, I haven't seen this one yet.
Right. Yeah. Following the series of commercials. That's always great. Yeah. This, I just realized this. I didn't plan for this, and I don't know that you did either, but these are our top 10 game commercials. The Super Bowl is going to happen, that's like commercial haven. So we got to get on that SEO for this. That's great.
Oh, true.
Right?
Maybe.
Good pick. I love it.
Thanks.
It fit the theme of like what Ratchet and Clank was selling too, because it had that attitude about it.
Right.
So that always goes really well. So my number 5, this is one of those really popular and this was a series of commercials, but we would like to play. So this
Dave mentioned it last week.
He did
from Tales from the Backlog.
I was like, that is one of my favorites for sure.
Very cool.
But just 2 Japanese guys driving around in a little smart car, bringing over a suitcase and that Wii remote and knocking on doors and just saying, we would like to play.
Right.
And then just like going at it with the Wii remote and Wii Sports and hula hoop stuff and Zelda, whatever else they could, show on the screen and really make an impact.
I think that most of them, you didn't even see the game they were playing, right?
Some you would see it like little cuts of it here and there, but
it was more like you were the TV looking out at them playing.
Exactly.
Right? Yes. Like, I think that was cool how they tried to sell it on that. Like, look how much fun these people are having. Don't look at the game. Like, the game is secondary to look at the fun.
True.
Look at the
fun.
Yeah. Look at it's people together. That. Yeah, it's people together having a good time.
They were sharing the joy.
Yeah. I don't know. This didn't make my list. Full disclosure, they're good. They're fine commercials.
Sure.
There you go.
I liked them.
No, they were good. So my number 4 is a Japanese commercial, another Japanese commercial. It is the Super Famicom Legend of Zelda commercial. Have you seen this?
Super Famicom Legend of Zelda? I don't think I have.
Okay, so it's live action, and it's got sick dance moves. And like this whole production costume, like it's got all the enemies, people dressed up as the different enemies. And it starts with like the Legend of Zelda music, and then the sword throws up and they start doing this dance number, and it's got this like cool Japanese like music. It's almost like a Japanese rap to it.
Wow.
And they start doing this choreographed dance, and it's Link, and then it shows Zelda in the cage and she's like screaming like, help me, Link, and it cuts to him and he's like doing a dance. It's just like really cool though, because it's in this like dark dungeon. The music's great. The costumes really are cool, the coolest thing. And it's all this like very, it's kind of got like fog machine going. And eventually he frees Zelda and they start dancing together. And then this big Ganon comes out and it's like a rubber costume Ganon. But everything in it was like these rubber costume, like, Lizalfos, Stalfos, things like that. And it just looks so cool. It's like, man, I would watch a play. Like I would watch a Legend of Zelda play. But it's got this earworm of a song, and I don't know any Japanese, so I can't sing it, and I definitely will not attempt to sing it, but I do urge you to seek this commercial out if you haven't seen it yet, because you'll be like humming that tune, man, for sure. Yes.
never seen this.
It's super cool. It is. I think it actually has a female playing both Link and a female playing Zelda, which I thought was cool too, because like, Link is very androgynous.
Right.
For sure. So yeah, really, really like cool atmosphere. It's one of those things that, obviously it was done a very long time ago, but you're like, yeah, even if it were cheesy, I would watch a live action Legend of Zelda show. Like, sure. I could do that. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the cartoon was very, very cheesy. So
not that level of cheese.
Okay.
Yeah. Not quite there. Like a different type of cheese. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. My number 4, To Michael. Are you familiar with this Sony commercial?
Maybe.
Okay. So it starts with just like these military people, and they're like, it's completely dark. It's at night. And then they're headed in the woods, and then they come across this like tavern, and the lady lets them in, and then you start seeing a bunch of characters from video games.
And they're doing like a toast,
right? Yeah. So they're all talking about like, I was stranded, marooned on an island, and then he showed up, and like he had my back in whatever this area, and then it's just like Omaha Beach. He was the only guy who could save us. To Michael. And then they all just do the toast to Michael. Right. And then they hold up a picture of Michael. It's like this portrait of just like this gamer kid. Yeah. And then there's just like a whole Sistine Chapel of images of Michael. All the game characters are just in love with him because Michael is the one who has played them all. And just a great, it was cool seeing all the characters.
Right. Was this was part of that like Greatness Awaits campaign?
Exactly.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, they had Nathan Drake, and it was played by just some
Kratos
guy
too, right?
Yes, Kratos was in there.
Yeah.
The Drake was actually voiced by Nolan North, but it was
really?
like he dubbed over this kind of schmohawk guy playing Nathan Drake. But you see who's the guy from Twisted Metal? I think he's there.
The
clown.
Geez, come on.
Yeah.
Yep. Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth.
Can't put me on the spot like that.
Bro. I know. Resistance, crazy.
Was it Killzone had people there too, or no?
I think so.
Yeah.
Which would have been like the Hellgast or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but
no, this whole Greatness Awaits campaign was really good. I almost put one on there where it was like the two guys going back and forth in different games. They were like racing each other and fighting each other in like medieval times and in futuristic war times and singing a song while they did it. Do you remember this one?
That's vaguely familiar.
But like this whole campaign, I thought had really, they still do it, don't they? They still do this like, but they call it's like a different tagline at the end now. But they still.
I mean, there's been like play has no limits. I don't know.
Play
when
has
that
no
was.
limits. That's the new like tagline, but they still do it where they do these like live action things that incorporate game characters. No, it's a good one, man, for sure. To Michael.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Absolutely.
It's no to Brian, but yeah.
Yeah, not today, Brian.
Not today.
Not today, Brian. Not today. So my number 3, you may be surprised to see it so low on my list, but it is the Smash 64, me and you and me. No matter how they toss the dice, it had to be something is going on in the world of Nintendo. Right? That's the voice. It's the aggressive voice. This was for Smash 64, and these characters in this field, arm in arm, skipping along. It's just
they're like Disney characters like that you would see at Disney World.
You could probably go to the new Nintendo World
and they'll have these
exactly it would be them, and they then I think it starts with a Yoshi tripping Mario, if I'm not mistaken.
Mario is the one. Well, I think Mario is the one who nails Yoshi.
He would be.
Yep.
He is a jerk, that guy.
Yep.
But and then it just goes downhill from there. They're like wrestling move, elbow drops, like beating each other on the ground. It's great, man.
It's fantastic.
It is. It really is. It's like,
I think my mom saw this commercial and was like, "That's hilarious." Yeah,
like it is one of those things where I still watch it and I'm like, "This is great. Like this is good marketing." And really, for a game. It's the idea of this game that people had been talking about for so long beforehand. Like, who would win in a fight? Who would win in a fight between these two characters? And we thought we would never know. And then you see this commercial, and like I think that's the key. It's still good to watch it, but nothing beats the first time you saw it.
Exactly.
Because the first time you saw it and you had no clue this game was coming. And it was like, what? Like it's all the Nintendo characters. Like, what's going on?
Oh, that's how I found out about it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. And then it's like, whoa, like this is real? Nintendo's doing this? Like it seems so
that
outlandish.
Never happens anymore.
Yeah, right. It seems so outlandish for them to do something like that. And yeah, wow, what a cool commercial, man.
I mean, I've told you the story of how I was so jazzed for Conquer 64. Mm-hmm. It was like Conquer, I forget what they called it. And Nintendo Power covered it and covered it and covered it. And then never talked about it again.
Yeah.
And then I went to the store and it was there, but it had this big label on it that said not suitable for anyone under 17. And I was like a kid and I reached for it. And the Toys R Us guy was like, no, you're not old enough to even look at that.
He must have played it.
Exactly.
he must have played it. It was no.
And I was just like, what? This game came out? I need to find out more. And this was pre-internet, or at least me having internet. So
get your hands off that kid.
It was very much like that.
Yeah, that's funny. That's fun. Now, like I always wonder, do people care?
No,
like if a kid goes in and buys GTA 5, they're gonna be like, all right, like here you go, kid.
Exactly.
Where are your
they
parents?
Don't care.
It's their parents' job. Yeah.
All right. So my number 3, Paper Mario. Mm-hmm. So this was for N64. It is Paper Mario. They just have like Mario cutouts.
Yeah, like doing the little jumps,
like moving it around. He's swimming, jumping off cliffs.
Yep.
Was she Toadstool or Princess Peach at this time? Anyway, Bowser's got her like hanging above a paper shredder. That's the part that gets me in the commercial. It's so clever.
Yeah.
Paper
Even
Mario.
the swimming's cool too.
It's very funny.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, it is. It's good. Like real life paper cutouts, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, this is a good one. Good pick. I wanted to put this on my list. I really did, but
got me to buy the game.
It didn't make the cut.
Oh, nice.
Because you could cut paper.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Right. Okay.
I didn't get it before.
Okay. Good.
But now you've explained it.
The best jokes. I hear the best jokes are when you have to explain them.
Yes.
That's what
point for point.
Right. Exactly. So, wow, we are moving up this list quick. My number 2 is Genesis does what Nintendo don't. It has to be. Look, like I did not want to be so cliche on my list, but these are iconic for a reason. I just think that this was it. This was the most iconic commercial to come out of any console war, and coincidentally was the commercial that kicked off the first console war.
Oh.
I mean, obviously there were some console wars before this, but this was the big one. This was the first time since Nintendo brought the industry back from the brink that somebody was like, "Oh, we're coming for you, and we're coming for you big."
They write books about this war.
Right, exactly. And this commercial plays a big role in those books, and rightfully so. It was a cool little jingle. They had stars galore. Riddick Bowe, who just beat Mike Tyson. They had Joe Montana in the commercial. Michael Jackson in the commercial. Like they shelled out some dough for this. Yeah. And I just remember even me, who, my whole life at that point was Nintendo, seeing this. And they had a clip of the Riddick Bowe boxing game, and it was like these big meaty sprites throwing punches at each other, and I was like, damn, like look at those big sprites. Right? Like little blast processing, dude. Like what?
It actually says HD graphics on the Sega Genesis,
maybe for the time, it's just like so good. And it was like just shots fired, man. So directly to the point,
they don't do that anymore. Like game companies don't attack specifically other game companies this way.
Here and there it happens. Do you want me to show you how you would share a game on PlayStation?
But they don't say Xbox. They don't say Microsoft.
Right. This song, the thing. Like legitimately said, like, can't do that on Nintendo. Yeah. Like it was, very much like in your face Nintendo.
Right.
Like we are crap talking you for these 30 seconds of airtime every time this commercial airs.
16-bit arcade graphics. 16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis.
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Collins free. What Nintendo?
Yeah, it was really good, man.
Sega was too ahead of their time on like Sega Channel, Dreamcast, GameCube, like too ahead of its time.
Yeah,
people weren't ready for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a shame that they don't make consoles anymore. I look back at the Dreamcast so fondly.
I do too.
I think it was just a gem of a system.
Yeah,
and it had these games that other consoles weren't getting. Seaman, like Shenmue.
Oh my God.
Shenmue,
So
you
good.
didn't find stuff like that on other consoles, you know?
Right.
I miss Sega systems, man, and I definitely miss
I
this
do too,
advertising. I definitely miss this advertising.
Yeah.
Did this make your list? It better be on your list. Don't give it. Oh my gosh, how did you make a top 10 commercials list and not have this?
See,
I can understand. I'm going to interrupt you here because I get the listeners are like, man, they're probably like, Ryan's list is every cliche gaming commercial, but like, it has to be. It's the top 10 gaming commercials.
I can remember the tagline, but I can't remember a specific commercial, honestly.
Oh, really? Maybe you're too young. Maybe. You're too young.
Also, I was like Nintendo all the way during this time.
Right. Yeah. For me, like these immediately there were commercials that stuck out in my head, and my list it's those commercials.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
You know what Ryan does? What Brian don't. What Brian don't.
We need to come up with something. I think there is something there. We just need to workshop it.
Yeah, we got a lot of workshopping ahead of us, buddy.
Yep.
yeah.
All right. Well, my number 2, you mentioned this one before, but it is that Zelda NES commercial.
Oh, cool.
So this one is fantastic. It was between this and there was another one that when I was looking at, I don't know if I'm gonna say it was a Battletoads commercial.
Oh, okay.
Probably not what you.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this Zelda commercial and then this Battletoads, I was kind of contemplating the two of them, but this is the style of commercial that like is my in my mind, like what the 90s were for me and kind of the 80s, I guess. Yeah. But so this Battletoads commercial, which I'll also plug in here, I guess as a number 2, it was like Jeff reviews games, and it was just like that really quick cuts with like these 2 kids on a couch. And this is going to lead into my mission debrief because all of this was like flowing in my mind as I watched these things. But it's just like, hey, did you hear about this? No, what's that? Like, oh, look at this totally awesome thing. And then just like quick cuts and like cameras going everywhere. Extreme. Just like, yeah, you need to play this. Yeah. All that kind of stuff is just like so awesome.
That's cool.
And it like, you thought these kids were so cool, and they were cool because they had this thing.
And they could rap.
It's the Legend of Zelda, and it's really rad. Those creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. Octoroks, Tektites, Levers too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Yeah, go Link. Yeah, get Zelda. Awesome. Intense.
And they could rap.
Yeah. So I thought you were going to mention another Zelda commercial that almost made my list. And it's like this weird black and white, this dude in like a turtleneck in a dark room. And he's just like screaming Zelda. And it's like, then he starts like saying the names of all the different creatures, and he's like Tektites, and he's like, it's like so weird, dude.
No,
it's such a weird thing. He's like got this eraser head haircut, and it's just like wearing. Yeah, it's so odd, man.
That's kind of. I'm sure if I saw it, it would all come back to me.
Yeah, it's just like out there.
Yeah.
And so when you were saying, oh, it was almost this other I thought you were going to mention that commercial.
Sure.
Yeah. So this is it. Our number ones.
Yep.
I will say there is a gaming series that will have 3 entries on my list. A single series has 3 entries on this list, which I did not realize till we were just about to record. And this is the 3rd entry for a Legend of Zelda commercial.
Okay.
And it is Robin Williams and his daughter.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I forgot about this one.
Yeah, I'm like trying not to cry. No joke. Like I'm not a person who gets upset over celebrities. Like, you know, we all live our lives and hopefully people miss us. If I don't know someone, I typically don't have any feeling about them being gone. Robin Williams was different. Like,
yeah, totally.
He was a huge part of my childhood. And, you know, he was in all these movies that like I love watching and remember fondly. And I loved this commercial when it came out. It just hits differently now, man. Yeah. You know, and like
this is really, Ocarina of Time for 3DS was the game,
right? And he's yeah, I cried. So there you go. Yeah. You want to see a grown man cry? But yeah, he's recounting the story of like Link saving Zelda time after time, and
right.
You know, he's God, he's got a really nice voice, right? Like,
he's
saying all this, and then his daughter chimes in like, Dad, are you confusing me with Zelda from the game? Because he named his daughter Zelda after these games.
Right.
It's just like, it's so wholesome and it's so heartwarming and now like so bittersweet.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And like,
you're Robin both Williams, pretty magical.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Robin Williams, like you were magical, man, you know?
Yeah.
Like that guy was a treasure. That guy was a treasure for sure. And yeah, just like rewatching it, I was like, damn, you know, it's tough, man.
Follow her on Twitter. She's great.
Yeah, for sure. And this commercial is great. I remember watching it when it came out and being like, whoa, like they got Robin Williams to do it. And his daughter's name is Zelda. And then I found out like he loved the series. He was a huge fan of Nintendo and a huge fan of the Legend of Zelda series. Like he was probably more than happy to do this. And it was like, he just got even cooler than he was before.
Exactly. Yeah. He probably just like was so fanboying out over them asking me to do it. That's how it came across for sure. Yeah, no, that's a great one. I can't believe I forgot this one. That would have absolutely been high on my list for sure. That's a great first pick.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, my number one's the Super Smash Brothers.
I kind of figured.
I really like that one too, but oh man, yours takes the cake now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh no.
So we've talked about that one. I want to mention a couple more that were, I remember them, but I guess they didn't really make an impact too much. The PlayStation commercials where it was just weird, like a weird white room, the baby, like those things were just weird.
What about the chipmunk, the squirrel or whatever, like the yelling squirrel?
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember? It was like a pencil drawing of like a squirrel who would like yell at you about how good PlayStation was.
Oh God, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Gamecube had some similar marketing where they would just take like a TIE fighter and put like a cube around it, like flying through space.
Yeah. So like I remember like the floating cube in like a city center, and it'd be like different games flashing in the cube. Right? Yeah. It was cool.
So that was cool. And then the Game Boy Micro. Did you see this one with the rat?
No.
It's very vulgar, but they are like, they put a rat in a maze and there's a Game Boy Micro and some cheese, and the rat like jumps over everything to get to the micro, and then he starts humping it, and it was really weird. Then they like put a clipboard over it, and it's clearly still going at it. So
Nintendo's like, how can we compete with these other ad agencies? Yeah.
That was a little out there, Nintendo.
The one that stuck out to me too is like the really misguided Xbox one, where it's the baby getting shot out of the woman at birth and then like aging all the way to death in the air. And it was just like life short, play video
landing
games
in the grave.
Yeah.
That was just like, weird.
Yeah, really, really bad. But there have been a lot of bad video game commercials. Some of them are, I'm sure, on my list subjectively.
Sure.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun putting this one together, dude.
Yeah, it was cool.
For sure. Yeah. Sorry to end it on a somber note with my number one, but I couldn't have anything else at the top of my list. I was like, damn, dude, like, man, you know?
Even before, his death, that was a powerful commercial, just because it's like, dude named his kid after a video game series. He's obviously like really in love with this, and it means a lot to him.
Yeah. And it's not just that. You think about Ocarina of Time and how much it meant for so many people. And like, we've played it so many times. It's been around for years. And like, I just feel like sometimes when we're in this this space where we play games and we think about them in a critical way, or however, like it loses the magic. Like think about Ocarina of Time. That is a beautifully amazing game. Like,
I said it was the best game I had ever played, like 5 minutes after playing it.
100%. Me too. At that time, it was by far the best game I had ever played. And it's just like, it's a beautiful game. Beautiful game. I could listen to Robin Williams talk about that game all day. All day.
It didn't get you to buy a 3DS and Ocarina of Time, though. So,
it didn't. Yeah. Oh, well, so be it.
Yeah.
But all right, that's our list, everybody. We are about to head into we're about to head into our mission debrief, so stick around. All right, so we're gonna head into our mission debrief. Brian, I'm gonna do something kind of unprecedented here. You said that yours applies to our list, so I'm gonna offer you to go first, even though it's my week. Like, I think if yours applies to the list, you should definitely go first.
So I mentioned the 90s and I guess 80s style of looking at video games and selling video games, and just two dudes on a couch talking like, this is the new game from Nintendo. Right. There is a channel called Far From Subtle on YouTube, and they did a series. It's been probably 10 years now. The channel's still going, but they have a series called Awesome Video Games, and it is that style but done like now. So it's these two dudes, and they just like basically emulate that, and there's storylines. It's Chet and Ace, and they've just got like, one has a t-shirt that is the Invincible star, just says Invincible. The other one's got a t-shirt that says cut it out.
Nice.
And then they talk about the Nintendo Entertainment System and like Mario and Duck Hunt, and each game has its own storyline to it. Like they play Dr. Mario when one of them is sick. So like he's like sick, and the guy's like, I just got to beat it so my brother can like get better. And he's like losing at the game. The guy's getting more and more sick, and then he's like winning, and he's like, oh, I'm feeling better. They do a Paperboy one where, he's playing Paperboy, and he's like, well, I got to do my paper route. And then he actually like goes and bikes, and then it cuts between the guy playing Paperboy, and then the same thing is happening in real life. So many cool things like that. My absolute favorite one is they have a cousin, and he brings over the Game Genie, and they're like, oh, like we're not allowed to use those. And he's like, yeah, man, I got the codes. And he like opens up his jacket and has like Game Gear, and they play the Game Gear, and then it starts spurting out like smoke because it's not an officially licensed product.
Right.
And then like they like start breathing it in, and like, oh man, I need to do more codes. It's so hilarious.
All right, what's the name of the channel again?
Okay, so the channel is Far From Subtle.
Okay.
And then the series is Awesome Video Games. I have it on DVD because I was so enamored with what these people were putting out. And it has like, I don't know, a handful of episodes on there. I bought it from like their store. It was a group of people. They have since like, the channel's still going, but like the two main people like moved to Japan, and they're still doing stuff, but like all the other people have like moved on. But every once in a while they'll come and do stuff together again. But it's a cool group of people. They were Canadian and then moved to Japan, but
still Canadian.
Still Canadian. Yeah, they were Canadian, but are also yes.
Okay, cool. No, I'll have to check it out. It sounds hilarious, man.
Yeah, you're gonna love it. You are going to love it.
It sounds like I will. It sounds like I will for sure.
Yeah.
So this recommendation may not be necessarily for you, Brian, but hopefully some of our listeners will like it. My mission debrief is Mike Flanagan's movies or shows. Are you familiar with Mike Flanagan?
I am familiar with. Is this like Midnight Mass?
Correct. Yeah, okay, Midnight Mass. Yeah. So I just watched
Manor.
Right. Did you watch Haunting a Hill House?
Yes.
Oh,
yes, I am locked into this director.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Same.
Yeah.
So I just watched Midnight Mass.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was like, I went in blind, didn't know anything. I suggest if you don't know anything, like go in not knowing anything, because I was
absolutely
like, wait, what?
Right.
Like, hold on,
Yes.
Whoa. So yeah, that really was cool. I loved it. I have to say, out of all the series he did, which are Haunting of Bly Manor, Haunting of Hill House, and Midnight Mass, I think the order of my favorites is Hill House #1 for sure.
Okay.
Then Midnight Mass, and then Bly Manor.
I would do Midnight Mass first, and then
I could see that. Absolutely could see that. Like, they're up there, but man, like, I thought Hill House was just so well done.
Yeah.
So well done. These are of course like horror genre movies. But
totally
not always like in your face horror, like very subtle in a lot of ways.
Like unsettling.
Right. And very interpretive too. Like, especially Hill House. There's a lot to interpret there.
Sure.
Like, is there anything actually real going on? Like, it's cool. I don't want to spoil anything, right? But like, there's a lot of different ways you could read into these movies. He also did a few films
shows. They're shows.
Sorry, miniseries. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he did do a few movies that are also available. These are available on Netflix. He also did the movie Hush, which is available on Netflix. It's about a deaf woman who is experiencing a home invasion, and it does really cool things with the use of sound, and just an awesome movie as well. He tends to use a lot of the same actors and actresses too.
Yes.
He did the adaptation for Netflix of Gerald's Game, which I thought was super, super cool. Really well done. He also did Dr. Sleep, the sequel to Shining. Yeah, which I did not know was him. Really enjoyed that, actually, because The Shining is not an easy thing to follow up on.
Right.
This does not, of course, live up. Like, it doesn't excel beyond The Shining.
Sure.
But the fact that he made a very good sequel to a movie that, like, really didn't have to have a sequel. I mean, granted, there is a book as well, and I get that. But the movie's awesome as well. Very much cued into this guy in a big way.
Is this Mike Flanagan or Midnight Mass that you're touting?
No, I am saying like Mike Flanagan's movies and shows, like both his shows and movies, but specifically the one I just happened to watch recently was Midnight Mass. That's why it was fresh in my mind. I have seen all these other ones prior to this. But yeah, Midnight Mass, man. I mean, if you're going to start with one, might as well start with Midnight Mass.
It is fantastic. I will say that it's going to be hit or miss for some people for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
there are some like serious issues that come up in it. Like,
totally. Like, I wouldn't recommend this to some people for sure. But
it's heavy.
But if you're like me, and it sounds like you enjoy this, it's a very atmospheric tone. Like, there's so many very specific things that just like hit that for me so hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And all he has earlier stuff, but all of the things that I named, I can honestly say I highly recommend.
Absolutely.
So yeah, definitely check out this guy's movies.
Sweet.
And shows.
Wow, that's unexpected.
Can't wait to see what he does next.
I know. Yeah. This is one of those situations where I'm just like following all the time.
Yeah.
The actor, I think his name is Raul Coley.
Yeah, I follow him on Twitter, actually.
Yep,
yeah,
me too.
So he's doing The Fall of the House of Usher, I believe, is what he's doing next. Mike Flanagan is doing.
But Raul's got a shirt that says in Flanagan we trust.
I saw it. Yeah, I really like that actor too. And I didn't know about him until I saw Bly Manor.
Yeah, I had seen him first in that show. It was like Georgia and something. It was a Netflix show. It was fine, but he's in there. But yeah, then I definitely was keyed into him after Midnight Mass.
Yeah. So definitely check out those pieces of media.
Yes.
So next week we have an episode. We have another guest coming on, Brian. We are like guests galore. And it will be Philip from Deleted Saves, wonderful podcast. I absolutely love and appreciate this guy's podcast because every episode is like 5 to 8 minutes, and it's perfect because I listen to some long podcasts, and it's such a breath of fresh air to listen to his. But yeah, he's coming on, and we will be discussing the top 5 beat 'em ups.
How are we going to do that in 8 minutes? That's going to be so difficult.
I know. Maybe if we talk more, he could get his 8 minutes in. He did actually message me and say, I guarantee I can talk more than 5 minutes. Like, don't worry about it. So we're good to go. We're good to go on that.
Good.
But yeah, we hope everybody has a great week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
See ya.